Hey!
Having fun.
That's awesome.
We are live at the Data Insight Summit. We've just completed the first day of the trainings. It was fantastic today. Yes. We have a live audience today. This is a first. So to my left or right, we've got Jay, we've got Alex. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, excited to have us. Want to do a round of introductions? Let us know what you do, and then what did you present today at the conference?
You want to go first?
Okay. Alex powers Power Query everything, everywhere, all the time. Today I talked about Power Query M, custom functions and documentation, and it was a blast.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Cool. So that's Mr. M. I like to think I'm Mr. Dax. No, I'm Jay. I'm on the product team as a program manager on modeling and Dax. So I'm kind of your nemesis, basically. We make fun of each other all the time. We're friends, but frenemies. And I did the keynote this morning.
Yes.
So where we had a couple of interesting things to show. And I did a session about improvements into calculations, where I presented a vision on what we're going to do.
That was, and that was just incredibly exciting, especially, we got to see some, I think, new stuff there.
Oh,
yeah. How much of the stuff in the keynote was, do people listening or watching, have they seen before?
If you weren't here, you missed it.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there were at least 5 items in there that people haven't seen before.
Oh,
So, yeah.
yeah. I was blown away, and I in the audience we actually have Belinda. Belinda is with us as well. So hello, Belinda. When you dragged a measure onto the Power BI palette, I went, oh, look at that, because it did something that it does not do today.
No.
That I have railed about for
Yes, I know you have.
nigh on 5 years or longer, and it did the right thing, and
Wasn't that exciting?
it was so exciting, and it was a little disappointing in the audience that no one else said something, but
I didn't catch it.
what?
So maybe you should talk about what it did.
Seamless. I guess what happened?
Oh my gosh, he dragged the measure onto the
And
pane.
it created the bar chart.
No,
That's
he
the
did
default
not.
behavior.
That's
Let the guy explain.
apparently that's no longer the default behavior.
No.
He dragged a measure on, and he got a card, so you just saw
The
the
number.
value, the number.
As
right?
it should be.
Oh my God, brilliant!
Yes.
Oh,
And then when you add something else,
Yeah.
we will actually turn it into a bar chart or column chart.
oh,
And then when you add something else, like a measure, guess what we'll do?
what?
Scatter plot.
Oh,
Because now there's 2 numerical values.
oh, that is just fantastic. That's something that creating reports that have meaning and context is really hard for a lot of people, right?
Right.
And going with the default behavior is what people are naturally going to do.
Yes.
And to have the default behavior default to what is right is just,
Yeah.
thank you guys.
So we already
much.
had that for maps, right? If you dragged in something that was coordinates or something, we already detected that, right? We knew hey, this is supposed to be a map because you're giving us longitude and latitude. So what else can we do than show you a map? But now we're just taking it to the next step and saying, okay, let's just look at what you're actually doing here. What's the data type of the data, but also how is it a little bit distributed? We're getting smarter over time. How can we actually help you build the right visual? And what I showed you was just based on data type, right? Okay,
Right.
We see 2 numerical values, we see 1 categorical value. That's probably going to be a scatter plot. That probably makes more sense. But you can imagine that going into the direction where you could say, hey, I see a skewed data. So I have data that is maybe 90% is over here, and then 10% is over here. Well, maybe we should scoot the axis over and just tell you, hey, you're missing 10% of the data. Instead of trying to show you 0 to 1 million, we're showing you 0 to 50,000 because that's where 90% is.
Yeah.
So that's just where these kind of things can take us. I'm not promising anything, but we're just getting started on this journey to that kind of behavior.
That is absolutely fantastic. I was just that in and of itself. I went to applaud, and I'll admit I was sitting for too long. I fell back down. Literally, I went and down. It was traumatic.
You're easily convinced.
Yeah.
You're easily satisfied. That's what I'm trying to say. There was so much more.
Yeah. Well, there was so much more, but I don't necessarily want to give away the farm here. You guys have some incredible presentations, and the official announcements are still coming out. So, excited about that. We also saw something in the preview that I think was exciting too. I think we saw an offset.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You saw some DAX magic happening there.
Yeah, that was I that smells of things to come.
Yes, absolutely. It reeks of it.
Yeah.
And all credits to Jeffrey Wang, by the way, who single-handedly made that demo happen, because I was trying to make a story of, like, this is how you would do it using normal DAX, and now using the new offset function that we sneakily introduced in the last release that nobody heard about. You can actually do this way easier, right? Like way shorter, and it's way better performance. You can read it. You can actually understand the DAX that we need for it. And I was trying to build the demo a couple weeks ago, and I was going nuts. Spent hours on it. I'm not getting this to work, right? I can easily do this on a time-based calculation, but not over states of what I was trying to do over any categorical information. So I pinged Jeffrey.
Yeah.
And they're like, I spent 2 hours on this now. Help me.
Yeah.
And he says, you just need to do a top end. I'm like, that doesn't help. I'm stuck, right? And then 5 minutes later, you send me a full DAX expression. Like, this is what you need. I'm like, okay, I understand how you got here. But man, would anybody ever be able to write that? No way.
Right. And I think that's a lot of the challenge a lot of people have when they approach DAX. Yeah. They're like, the easy stuff is easy.
Yes.
That's great. But the hard stuff is infinitely hard, right? So that's exciting to hear.
As Paul has said on this in this conference, right? DAX is easy until it isn't.
Yeah, right.
And that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
So to confirm, you said you snuck it in the latest build. Was that August?
Yeah.
Or was that September?
It's August.
It hasn't really been there since August?
Yep, and nobody knew.
I was seeing it light up on Twitter today. People were finding it in the Formula Bar.
But if you don't know what's inside, there's no IntelliSense.
Yeah.
So we'll just give you a red squiggly. You type offset. I don't understand what offset is. But if you keep going and fill in all the parameters, you click commit, it will happily do it.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. Since August.
Yeah. And I believe it's offset.
Yes.
Parentheses -1 or negative whatever in the parentheses.
Yes, something. Something. You need a little bit more, but that's
all right.
But I mean, of course, like Marco Russo and Alberto Ferrari are very active in the DAX space, and I love we were able to sneak it in under their radar.
Yeah.
They didn't know. That's awesome.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yep.
All right, Alex, what was your favorite thing that you got to see today?
Working on a visual and then being able to do an on-object edit like it was an Excel visual. That was awesome to me.
Yes, agreed. Yep. Where gone is the format pane that's often Neverland, but it's now right next to the visual, right?
So that's what was pretty cool is like, as you're touching the visual, like you should be able to edit it.
Yeah.
And then if you really need to go into the formatting pane, it'll be for more of like the complete customization with all the toggles and all the crazy things. But the on-object default experience was just like, wow. A couple clicks and now it's done. I didn't have to sift through kind of a long list. So I'll be excited when that lands. I'm not very good at the data viz space, so like that is an immediate helper for me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Awesome. All right, so both of you are aware of the roadmap. Alex, you've created the Power BI roadmap that is out in App Source. You can download that today. You can deploy that out to your COE. I highly recommend doing so. Alex, what on the roadmap that we have coming up that is not out yet are you most interested in?
Selfishly, Power Query SDK for Visual Studio Code, but that is so niche. That's so extremely niche. What I saw today, which is on the public roadmap, editing Power BI data sets up in the service.
The full data editor experience up in the data set. That was great.
I think we're all on installing Power BI Desktop and getting Macs. That was the response of the audience.
No, wait.
We're staying on the desktop.
I mean, yes, we're doing that. Yes, we're building experiences in the web that meet or create parity between desktop and the web, right? That's basically what we're doing. We're thinking about how can we bring the experience that we have on desktop that we're currently lacking in the service, which mostly is around modeling, to be honest. How can we bring those two things together? And Emily on the team that I'm on the Most team is just doing a fantastic job in that area, working on closing that gap.
So I know you're an IoT guy, right?
Sorry?
You like IoT devices in your Raspberry Pi?
Yeah.
We need to do a live stream of building a Power BI report on a Raspberry Pi. Whenever all this stuff in the web.
Oh yeah, sure, I can do that.
That will be insane.
Oh yeah.
Where is Leah? She was just here talking about that.
Yeah. $15 computer and you can have Power BI.
Exactly.
Wow.
Anyway, what I wanted to latch on to real quick, we're not deprecating desktop. We're not telling people to get out of desktop, right? Desktop is an awesome tool and it will have its place. We're just opening those experiences up to the service so you can actually, when you're on the go, or you're at a client and you just simply don't have like access to the latest desktop, or you're on a Mac.
Yep.
We don't want to be excluding you, right?
Right.
So we're just building that experience. But I got a couple people coming up to me like, oh, so I can just now safely uninstall desktop and you're deprecating desktop. That is absolutely, completely not true.
You're hearing it here first.
Yeah.
Right? It's because there will be things that will not be as easy or as quick in the service because you have to go through all these jumps until you are on our VMs in Azure somewhere, right? So if you're loading data from your local data center, it's still desktop is the thing for you, right? Because that server is right over there. Mm-hmm. Why would you put a gateway on that server and then go to the cloud and then use your machine to go? Doesn't make any sense. Yep. So desktop is here to stay. It's not deprecated. We're not moving away from it. I just wanted to be absolutely crystal clear on that.
Now, to build on that, one of the follow-on questions I had when I saw that was a lot of people have had challenges if they connect to the Power BI data set, they make a change to it, then they can't download it.
Right.
Is that going to be something that gets changed in the future, especially if we have this editing experience? If I make a change to my model, so I just need to add a measure, I just need to change a join. Will I forever lose that desktop experience, or will I be able to download that?
You will be able to download most of that.
Okay.
We're going to release something next month. So
okay.
Not this month that just went out, that update for today, but next one. We're going to expand the scenarios in which you can download a file from the service. And why are we doing that? Because of what we just showed. You need that, right? If you go edit things in the service, and it means you can never take it out again, we just build a one-way street for you.
Right.
We're not in the business of building one-way streets.
So it's almost like they're planning out their development and getting it ready for us with forethought for the developer and the people who are using it.
Yes.
So see how it works now.
So you will be able, and I can give a little bit of a sneak peek, but I haven't talked about it even in keynotes. So this is another one that's brand new.
Number 6.
Oh!
No, but
Number 6.
You'll be able to download live connected data sets. So you will be able to download a PBX that's live connected if the data doesn't fit back into the PBX. So for example, you have a big data set up there and you configured incremental refresh.
Right.
And now you went I want to go back to desktop to make changes to the data set. You can't. Because if you have the file, you lost it, right?
Yep.
So we don't allow you to download it. Why? Because desktop is not guaranteed to be able to open it. It might blow up.
Right.
Because it goes I don't know what incremental refresh is because that's a service experience. So instead of not allowing you to download it at all, we're going to say, hey, when you click the download button, it will be enabled. You'll see a disabled option that says import, including the data, right? And we'll explain why that's not available. The second option we'll show you is give me a brand new PBX that just makes a live connection to this data set.
Oh.
And then you can have the report in there as well. So now we're opening up way more download scenarios.
Right.
Nice.
So that's going to go live very soon. And I'm not sure if I've got myself in trouble right now, but we'll see. It's next month, so it should be fine.
All right. Well, excellent. Well, then, what's your, Jared? What's your favorite future public? Oh no, I don't want to get you in trouble, right? Like, we are not talking NDA.
We already talked about it, like the data set editing on the web. Really. I love it.
Oh, okay. So that's your favorite. All right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean the on object is great, but I'm a modeling guy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
As you said, don't let me create your visuals. Right? The reason I'm all against pie charts is because I don't know anything about data visualization, so I just pick something as a target to not do. So I have to choose some modeling stuff, and then the only thing I can really talk about, which is on the public roadmap, is modeling on the web. Data set editing in the web. I'm not allowed to say modeling on the web anymore. Data set editing in the web. That's the name we're going to give it.
All right.
Yes.
Data set editing in the web.
Yes.
All right.
So that means DAX formula bar in the
Okay.
web. That means model view in the web. So you can go into a data set and say, show me the model view.
Mm-hmm.
You can even have that separate open in a separate window. Right? You can pick the model view.
Now big brain stuff going on here,
Right.
folks.
So then relationship editing is there. DAX editing. Am I missing something?
No, that's good.
I think RLS. RLS,
Great RLS.
the experience that you might know from data marts with RLS.
Okay.
RLS.
That
Yeah,
thingy,
that'd
the
be
dialogue
good.
with the drop downs,
Yeah,
is also
yeah.
coming to that.
So, what about features that aren't currently supported in desktop?
Mm-hmm.
Will we see a break in features like, now calc groups you can edit those online, you can't do it on desktop? Is that something we're going to see? Or are we going to see a flow of functionality always pass through desktop and then go online? Or will there be a back and forth?
Equal parity, right?
That's the goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically the goal is, so we have a couple tracks going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emily is closing the gap for modeling. So that
Mhm.
means, doing the DAX editing and model view and stuff like that. But then any other feature that is going to be built will be both service and desktop.
Okay.
So whenever somebody now on the team writes a spec that touches the service or the desktop, they have to answer the question, how is this going to work in the other environment?
Man.
So yeah, anything that you're thinking about. I mean, if you want to do something about, let's say, potentially do something with calc groups,
Yep.
and you wanted to do easier consumption experience, or maybe have an icon for calc groups, as somebody has been asking for. That icon needs to be there in desktop as well as in the service. It's not okay anymore to just do that in desktop and then leave the service hanging, or the other way around. So
Sure.
we're bringing those things together, because in the end it doesn't make any. It doesn't matter where you are, right? You might
Right.
choose to be on the service. You might choose to be on desktop. Maybe you don't even have a choice because your company doesn't allow you to install, or you have a Mac or whatever. We just want to give you the best experience, and that's why we're bringing those two things together in terms of experiences.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I think about the system requirements of like running Power BI desktop, especially for a lot of people who get issued 8 gigabyte or 16 gigabyte machines.
Yes,
Right.
And they struggle like this web authoring experience, like
you are
immediate
absolutely
solving
right.
that.
Yes,
Yep.
that's another big one,
Yeah.
because we all know that
It's a memory intensive app.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite. Yeah, it likes memory for dinner. Well, the AS engine likes memory for dinner, basically.
Yeah. Well, and especially if you have to launch multiple Power BI desktops for whatever reason, like
Difficult.
you can run into some challenges then, right?
Yeah, and the other thing, of course, is we see loads of IT companies that still are behind the ball, and because we release at such a rapid pace, that they will have to still package the thing. And every day I get like customers saying, "Yeah, okay, great release, but I'm still on the 2020, November 2020 build.
Oh.
I'm still stuck here, right? I cannot move forward because IT is still packaging it." Now imagine we would bring the service to the same level as the desktop, and then from there on, everything that we pile on extra is going to show in both. Then suddenly all of that goes out of the window.
Right.
If you have access to the service, right?
Right.
If you're allowed from your IT department to access the service, then you don't have to wait on IT anymore
Right.
to just use the latest features. So how about that?
That is fantastic. Yes. Very exciting. And I'm glad you're on the modeling, because this is an area that I'm very passionate about, and I think.
I didn't get that.
Then we should talk more.
Yeah.
But one of the areas that I've seen a real dip in the utilization or even the capacity in the service is in perspectives. So for those of you who aren't familiar with perspectives allow you as a modeler to define a set of tables or fields that people will use in certain situations. And there's all sorts of use cases for it. We use them a lot inside of Tabular on SSAS and AAS. But when you move over into the Power BI service, suddenly you can configure them and you can deploy them, but you don't really have an access point other than the custom visuals, personalized visuals side. What do we know about that? What's the story that we have there?
The story is that we need a lot of investment to make that happen.
Okay, all right.
I actually had a conversation with Christian Wade just last week about how do we prioritize that versus all of the other stuff that we might potentially do. I mean, just to give people a bit of an insight into how this works is just for my area, and I'm just one of the, how many PMs do we have on the team? 15, 20 or so?
Yeah.
I'm just one of them, right? Keep that in mind.
Yep.
Just for my area, I have a list of 110 items that I want to do.
Sure.
And then all of those go into a hat.
Yep.
And then out of there come maybe 5 that I can actually do that semester. So that's where you have to kill your darlings, right? I have to choose what, and I have to talk to Christian Wade, for example, because if I can get on the same page with him, then suddenly you have 2 of us asking for the same thing, and that increases the chance of that being built. So perspectives is absolutely something we discussed. So we don't have perspective support in Desktop at the moment, right? The best support for AS perspectives is still in Excel as an end user. Yeah. That's where it is. But it's going to be hard, but we started on this journey a little bit because with the composite models on Power BI datasets, right? The feature formerly known as Query for Power BI datasets and other services. You can tell that I've said that a couple of times. It allows you to when you connect to it allows you to specify a perspective.
Right.
It already does.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, it does. But that doesn't mean that it's only when you do a direct query to the Power BI dataset, not the live connection yet.
Right.
But so we're slowly starting on that journey.
Okay.
It will be interesting. I mean, we're coming up to planning, so it's going to be, will that survive this time? Yes or no? But it's definitely on the short list.
Okay.
Of the things that I put in the hat from the 110, I go back to 20 and I just put 20 things into the hat. It's definitely on that list.
That's
cool.
So no guarantee it will survive.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, right? That I'm looking what I really want 6, 12, 18 months out. So hopefully sooner, but I understand it can push.
Ideas.powerbi.com.
Yes.
Yes.
Help the team prioritize with your phone.
Yep. And then we regularly do a cleanup.
Yeah, me and him.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The two of you guys.
Yeah. I mean,
I sent 24 the other day.
Yeah, exactly.
Close out.
Yeah.
So we're very active on cleaning up ideas.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, we're fighting against...
That's the team right here.
But we're fighting against a problem that goes way beyond that, right? I mean, ideas is just growing.
Yeah, it's growing.
Growing and growing. And it's 20,000 and counting. And us closing 24 items in a week is not going to cut it.
Right.
It's not going to be enough.
Well, and so one of the biggest reasons I like, because people don't know, I used to be a Tableau guy, and I switched over to Power BI.
This conversation is over.
I switched 8-9 years ago, and Power BI was not. People were like, "You're crazy." Power BI they just said something, but it was because of the responsiveness from the PM team and actually be able to implement based upon user feedback.
Yeah.
I went, that's a game changer, right? You guys really do. I mean, you're sitting here, you're talking about how you prioritize, how you work through these things, and totally get it. As a consumer, you have a budget, right?
Yep.
There's only so many engineers and only so many hours in a day.
Yep.
You have to prioritize, right?
Correct.
So I and other users, on behalf of some of them, some maybe not, but I thank you for the efforts that you take to listen to us yammer and complain. And I do want to say, like, we recognize you are humans. There's only so many hours a day. We really appreciate all the effort you put into not just listening to us, but also making a great product.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I mean, some people might think that at Microsoft the sky is the limit in terms of like money, or you just slap more money or more people on it. That's not the way it works.
Right.
For any investment, you have to make a business case.
Yeah.
So if your product makes X amount of money, you can invest X minus 1, basically, right? That's approximately where it's at. So that doesn't mean you can do X plus 10, right? That the business case doesn't add up. So yes, of course we want to build everything. We want to do everything under the sun. We want to do all the magic things that people talk about, all the things that people vote on ideas, and all the random things that people throw at us like, oh, this would be great. Yes, that would all be great.
Right.
But we're limited. We cannot do everything. And that's what I really loved about Jeffrey Wang was telling me that the other day, is that don't forget, even if you hire 5 new software engineers onto the team, they will only be able to write the code that we need, a majority of the code that we need for all those great, cool experiences that we're talking about and everybody is wishing for.
Yeah.
In 2 years from now.
Oh yeah.
Right.
The ramp up.
They need that ramp up time.
Yep.
That's just so we cannot just magically do that, right? We can magically hire people if we're lucky. We get budget, we can hire people, but then still they need 2 years of ramp up because before they're at the point that they can actually write that stuff. And so on some teams we literally have a problem where like we're just like, okay, out of the 10 people, 2 of them, just those 2 can actually write what we need for feature X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And people just don't see that sometimes, and that's what makes that conversation a bit harder. But I appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate you being transparent about that.
Well, but that's really true, right? That I always talk about the S curve of mastery, right? Like,
Yes.
People, you bring them on, and anytime you start to engage, for a while you're going to suck, right? You start out at suck, and you're just down there, and then all of a sudden you start to realize what it means. You have that epiphany moment, and then all of a sudden you shoot up in capabilities, and then you're producing, right?
Yeah.
So on some teams, and this is exciting to me, is that means a year from now or 2 years from now, we 4x our capabilities here. Yeah.
You read that right.
Yeah. So that is great. I'm super excited about the investments that are being made, what that says about the future of the roadmap. That is fantastic. We're going to turn to the audience here because we've never had an audience, and I'm going to ask if you have any questions because we now have them. We both have Jay and Alex in the hot seat about their presentations or demos of what you've seen today. What's that?
Alex, I'm curious about the personalization query
Yes.
you were talking about. What is coming out? What is that called? That preview?
Personal query gallery.
Yeah.
That one's on the roadmap for next year, March, where you can start loading in your Power Query custom functions to have like an organizational source. Then that way I can share them with you. I could write the complex logic, and you don't have to know anything other than your insert parameters.
So like user-defined functions for Power Query, basically, but then shared in like a central library?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I wish DAX could do something like that.
It's on the same short list that I just mentioned with the 110 items. It literally says UDFs in DAX. Literally, I know which cell it is in the Excel sheet that I keep.
And I think that'll be cool because especially if you think of like the AI insights in Power Query where you just click on a button and then you just insert your columns. Like that will be so awesome that people will never have to write complex Power Query. Except for like the 1 or 2 weirdos like myself who are like, give me all the problems.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So that's the big one for me. March 2023 is the next wave coming up. That's where it talks about like they're doing semester planning. They're trying to figure out what are those big rocks that they want to move in kind of that next 6 month period.
Yep. 6,
12, 18. I mean, obviously things can kind of be pretty far out, but that's one of the big rocks that the data integration team wants to move. So.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. It's publicly available too. You can go read the docs on the release plan. So I'm not making anything up.
You're not disclosing anything.
Yeah.
Good.
Awesome. I'm going to come right back to the audience. I'm going to ask for your next question, but I have one more question for you guys before we do that.
Oh, yeah.
What's the most underutilized feature that you love that you think, gee, as a DAX guy, nobody does blank, or as a Power Query guy, why aren't people doing?
Don't put me in a box.
What's that? Well, all right, yeah.
I got some things.
All right.
Descriptions.
Descriptions.
Yeah, right on.
Oh.
Right on.
People don't put enough descriptions on their tables and their columns, and that is such an easy win for an end user.
And fields. And fields.
Yeah, and fields.
Yeah.
So that's the one area where I would tell people, like, just spend the extra 20 or 30 minutes, hopefully documenting some of your stuff. Obviously, if you're in like a monster model with 140 tables, I think Alex Duper was showing, it could be a little bit more difficult, but you should still plan for that within your development cycle. So,
well, and if you haven't been out on Elegant BI's site, he actually has a great macro for extracting all of the fields and definitions into Excel that you can then edit or more importantly, give to someone who has good with words vocabulary, they can write well, hand that to them and ask them to write out the descriptions that you add in. I'm not saying you may be word good person. Some of us are not word good people, and we struggle with these things. And it's nice when we can partner with other people to fill that out and then import it right back in. So that I really like that one. That's a good one.
I told you.
Yeah.
Don't put me in a corner.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay. Oh, man. That's awesome.
Okay, so for me,
Yes.
it may sound kind of weird, but I would just say, since I'm kind of the DAX PM, but I spend so much time helping people that went way too far in writing complex DAX, where they should have taken a step back. And might sound like a broken record now. Go fix your data model. Like if you're talking about investing time, like the model is there, right? If your DAX is complicated, your data model is wrong.
Right.
Get a good data model, your life will be easier in DAX, right? I heard somebody say here on the floor here, like if you have a good data model, all you ever need in DAX is sum. I won't go as far as that, but it's kind of close to the reality. So I see so many people struggling, open support tickets, reaching out to the product team, us spending cycles on it, where the core of the problem actually goes back to you should rethink what Power BI expects from you when you start using this product. It expects a dimensional model.
Sure.
If you feed it something else, it will probably break. It will probably do things you go like, I didn't expect that. No, because you didn't give it the right... Like, Power BI eats dimensional models. Don't give it something else. Right? And we've not been doing a good job, I think, about explaining that to users. Also because we don't want to push anybody away, right? We want to...
You can still load a spreadsheet.
Right, exactly. We want people to onboard. So the choice we could have made is said like, oh, you're giving us a spreadsheet. No, you're not allowed in, right? Nope, you're not dressed fancy. Nope, not allowed in the nightclub, right? Go home, dress, and then you maybe are allowed to come in. That's not the choice that we made years ago, and I think that was also why Power BI got the adoption that it did. But at this stage, I think we should be better at helping you build the right data model. So basically, that's like, it's kind of a weird answer to your question, but basically, it's like don't overuse your DAX. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I see so many people going into the weeds of DAX, where actually they could have solved all those problems by just taking a step back and going like, oh, I just need a better data model.
Right. Oh, I should have a date dimension, or my date dimension should have a previous year field.
Yes.
Right.
I see so many people doing dates still on facts.
Yeah.
And then doing DAX trickery, where you could just split it out and you're done.
Yeah.
And there's no week that passes that I don't have to solve one of those cases. Where I go like, but yes, the root cause of all this trickery and all the problems that you're causing yourself, either in performance or erroneous or weird results, or you just getting into the weeds, is your DAX or your data model not being up to snuff. Like, fix that, everything goes away. So I'm not telling people to not use DAX, but I'm telling people to build a better data model.
Well, and it also, it's use the right tool for the right job.
Yes.
Right? DAX isn't always the right thing.
No.
Power Query isn't always the right thing.
It's almost never the right thing. Just joking, man.
Do it all in SQL. You'll never have that.
All right, so we're going to go back to the audience and then ask what questions, again, do you have for these wonderful gentlemen? Oh, hang on, Belinda, you already went, so... we'll come back to you. We've got a lot of people.
Look at that.
There are thousands of people here.
One of the feature I'm excited about is the visual calc. What you have showed, like there's a lot of potential. Like it's just beginning, but I started sort of getting ideas that how it can make my life easier or end user life easier with that particular feature added. So thanks to you, it's amazing feature.
So the microphone didn't pick up any of that NDA conversation. So
That's okay.
Oh, okay.
It was not that NDA.
Yeah. All right.
Like that.
Yeah.
Not that classified.
Not that classified anymore. No. But,
Yeah.
So I showed. I can thank you, by the way, for the feedback. I showed visions on where we're considering going when it comes to improving DAX and making the life of people that write DAX statements easier. For example, the canonical example that I really like is you have your manager like breathing into your neck. Like, I need a running sum, right? And I can do that in Excel by just, look, I can do it in Excel. Like, click, drag, running sum. Why cannot you, right? This is supposed to be the market leader in BI. And you're struggling here,
Right.
writing a running sum?
He's passionate.
So what if we were able to solve that problem and many more? That's basically what I talked about. And we call that visual calcs right now. But yeah, it's a little early to give away more than that.
If you weren't here, you missed it.
Yes.
Stay
you
tuned.
in.
There will be
Yes.
more.
I'm very excited about it because if you try to do what you just described, a running total or a running calc, it is a lot of DAX. There's
Yes.
no simplification of your model that makes that easy to happen. Like, DAX is the only thing, and it is not easy. It is hard, and it is not performant. So
Yes,
I'm excited
exactly.
about that. As
So
well. That is great.
we are working towards solving that pain.
Okay.
And that's what I explored in that session. It's like, what can we do to make that better?
That is absolutely fantastic. Now, I've got one question. I think I've individually asked you these questions in private, but we have not. We have
I'm
not
not giving
heard
away
this.
my phone number. But sorry.
My cancer.
That was my
Just call
picture
Jay.
earlier. That got really weird. all of a
Jay,
sudden. Yeah. I have been a long proponent that one of the biggest things that Power BI and the Microsoft data ecosystem needs is a universal surrogate key management for anyone working on the platform.
Oh man.
That we could call as a Power Query function or a function inside of Databricks that would define a canonical surrogate key based for a business key for an enterprise.
Ooh.
What are the odds of us ever seeing something like that?
Well, if you ideas.powerbi.com, I'll give it a thumbs up right now. We'll get you to the top. One vote at a time. Jay.
So wait. So you're saying, so you want to? So let me get this straight, right? So let's say you're doing, I don't know, sales, and you have sales for a product in a certain date. So you want to have like a multi-key relationship, and then have a surrogate key generate for that.
No.
Without you doing that in the data warehouse? Is that what you're asking?
I'm wanting to take a business key that I have,
Right.
and I want to be able to define that at the enterprise level,
Okay.
so that if I ever map in, or anyone in my organization ever maps in that business key, they could call a Power Query or a function and say, this business key maps to this enterprise business key, and then get the enterprise surrogate key for it. So you could then join that to any other enterprise or non-enterprise data set that's using those.
Isn't
surrogate
that
keys.
like Purview?
Purview doesn't have that.
Replace a GUID with an integer.
Yeah, right.
Purview's not gonna, it's a standard way of doing that.
Yeah.
Out of box.
I love it.
Especially the enterprise part of this. No, especially the enterprise part of that is where I'm struggling.
Yeah.
Where I don't see that happening quickly. Because it's kind of like a little bit out there where we're going with the product. So I'm not sure. On the smaller scale, sure, like in desktop or whatever, but in the enterprise for like a managed service or whatever that you can do all the mapping. Yeah, I don't know. I hate to disappoint. So.
Cool idea.
Well,
let's vote for it.
Yeah.
So, and I've told you this, and I think I've even said this publicly. One of the things I really appreciate about Jay is when you throw an idea at him, he goes, nah.
I'm sorry.
He's much nicer, as you can see, about it than that, but
yeah,
nah.
well, I mean, as I responded to that as well, the one thing I value is clarity.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't make me friends. I don't care, honestly. I think my job, or a job of a PM on the team, is to give clarity.
Sure.
And not give people false hope. So if you're asking for a surrogate key management system on the enterprise level, and I got the feeling that that's not where we're headed, or I don't see any evidence that that's coming anytime soon, I won't try to give you false hope. Like, no, it's coming. No, I'll just tell you, no. Like, never say never, but chances are, don't get your hopes up, right? Might not be there anytime soon. And then, of course, on Twitter, where characters are limited, I'll just say no. But what I mean is this, right?
Sure.
Don't get your hopes up. Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate that, because some PMs will be like, that's a great idea. Yeah, let's get right to work on that. Like, are you?
But that's not the reality.
Right.
That's not how this works.
Yes.
All of those PMs, those people already have things in motion.
Right.
And even if they then start pushing for that, it will at least be 6 months before that's going to be picked up by any planning cycle to make any chance of actually being implemented. So just us saying, oh yeah, let's get to work on that right away, it's just not true.
Right.
Just simply not true. So, yeah.
Well, and I think there's also a challenge when discussing a feature around what's the MVP deployment supposed to look like. And if they say, yeah, that's going to go in, but it's not going to go in, then you can miss the mark, right? Because now all of a sudden, like, oh, well, they didn't tell us, the truth, and to get people to fight for it and say, hang on, no, like that has to be part of MVP, right? You can't go forward with this. So I appreciate the honest feedback.
I'm pretty sure you're referring to some kind of management function for composite models on Power BI data set.
I'm not. So the first time I ever interacted with Jay, I had never met Jay before in my life.
No.
It was when composite models released, and we had been talking about it for years about like, okay, it's going to release, but I need to toggle to be able to say yes or no if that can happen. And the PM prior to Jay, and I'm not going to name names, was all like, yeah, that's going to be there. And then it launched.
And it wasn't there.
So
then this guy comes in, guns blazing, to me.
Like, who are you?
No, he did not. No, you were much nicer than that. But he threatened my family. No, just joking.
But no, I did. It was an issue that did escalate, and
rightfully so, by the way.
Yeah, it then did fall on Jay, and he's just called me up like, dude, ask.
Tell me what you need. Rebuild it. But it's an interesting thing, because again, it goes back to the conversation we just had a little bit earlier about data models. Is that should we really throw up all of those boundaries for people to adopt new features? Well, really, if you look back at the history and why we've been successful as Power BI, because we've been guerrilla BI, right? We've been adopted by people left and right in companies, and that's how we got there. So this is always a little bit of a touchy subject. Like, do we want to put that feature that we're building behind this control that an admin, we envision, will probably go like, I don't know what that is, turn it off. Like, I don't know, turn it off. That means that my feature doesn't get any adoption. So that's always like a little tricky. I feel like there's two needs, right? You need enterprises that need it, and you need like less than enterprises that probably don't necessarily need it. It's hard. It's hard to walk the thin line. My strategy personally is throw anything against the wall without a feature switch. And if anybody complains and goes like, I'm not you, I'm going to find you if you don't give me a ping to turn this off, I'll build that thing to turn it off. But I'm not going to go the other way around and hide something behind a thing that turns it off. Because if I do that, I know my feature's not going to be adopted by enterprises. As a result, my feature's not going to be successful. As a result, I'll be in trouble. And the feature's not going to ship anytime. So what am I going to do?
So I will continue to put the plug that there should be 2 times that it automatically comes out. Number 1, security. If it introduces a potential security thing, like something I just read today that was just released, that I have to go and look, but I'm not going to go into that. Or if it increases my potential significant or changes my consumption patterns of a service that has an impact on my spend. In those 2 cases, right? Like data marts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh crap, data marts is out. I had no budget for SQL Server basically to suddenly be in my Power BI environment.
So that's where you need to control.
Right, that's where I need to control.
But for example, the on-object stuff that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Do you need to control for that?
No, I don't.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Just checking.
Yep.
Just making sure we're on the same page.
Yeah.
So as a comic and movie fan yourself, you either die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain and you just disable everything. So I like how you were like guerrilla third wave. Like, I think that's how we all started. It was like IT was not giving us the permissions.
Yeah.
So we were very much like, get everything in.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. And I'm with you though. Like, if there's a security boundary, it could be like geolocation, or if like data is leaving a tenant through like mapping and some of the other capabilities.
And of course, if
absolutely,
and something you have to budget for.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah.
But
I don't think
I also sometimes get messages that basically ask for the other extreme. It's basically like anything, like even if you're moving this button or you're doing the on object or you're changing the icon here, we have to retrain all of our users. So you need to do it behind a feature switch. If we do that, nothing happens anymore.
Who moved my cheese is tough.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the problem, right? So that's just a balance we have to find. But I tend to agree with you. Like if it's about spending more money or data security.
Yep.
We need to help you do the right thing as an admin.
Don't disable things. Control
just
them.
don't disable things.
Yeah.
Control them. We want control. We don't want to disable.
And my plug is always, it should be the ability to really assign a group.
Yep.
Right? So, even if it's, okay, this feature is always going to be on, but you can put a group in. Only this group can have access to it. Great. Then I can assign it to at least that king admin level and say, if they have that, fine, that is great.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's
I think that's a good middle ground, but that basically means like for features that don't impact data security or spending, we probably won't build those flags.
I'm down. I want to enable as much as humanly possible as well. Yes,
good.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Audience questions?
Yes, audience questions.
You're like, let's get rid of this topic. We need to talk about something else.
That's quite boring. So we have in the audience thousands of people. Of which we have someone going around with the microphone. And okay, and who has the next question?
I can ask.
Give it your name.
Hey, my name is Pravinda Chana.
Pravinda.
Yes. So my question is for Jay. It's a simple question. I also know the answer, but for everyone else. So this data set editing in the cloud you showed us, awesome. Yes. Any rough timeline on that?
It's public.
I mean, go. It's an easy answer. Go look at Alex's app and you'll find the answer.
So they have it targeted for later this year in terms of public release?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Awesome.
The public release is, I think, December. That's what they said on the public roadmap.
It could still be listed as November, but the notes get updated like every.
Yeah, but you know how this goes, right? I mean, software development. Give it a couple extra months.
Yeah.
I would. I'm not a PM owner of this, of course. I don't know. I don't own everything under the sun, luckily. But December will be pushing for it, I think.
What you saw is realistic timeline of you'll have it in your hands.
Yeah. That's exciting stuff. I mean, it's something I've been looking forward to. Also, the Mac users.
It's huge.
Just finally unlocking that, not having to use Parallels or some other way with a VM in the cloud on Azure, although we make a lot of money on that as well as Microsoft. But so, different story. But just giving them direct access to something like that is just awesome. And I mean, it's just great.
Great. Like all Mac users I have work with many businesses, and it's not about for me. Like if I'm a Power BI developer and a desktop user, it doesn't matter for another year. It's okay. I'm okay, right? I'm not dying for it. But the problem is my customers who are using Mac, I can't do anything about it, right? And
Agreed.
That's where it's going to happen.
And that's why it's important we close the gap between the servers and desktop to give you that same experience across the board. And I think the modeling is just the latest example of that. That's where we were lacking the most. We're still lacking in other areas, but modeling is definitely where we're lacking the most. So that's why it's great. We're doing that investment right now.
Awesome.
So it's going to be cool.
I'll add on the community side, it's important to come to events like this because we'll have a whole new audience of Mac people who don't understand the basics of Power BI.
That's a great point.
Getting involved in community, user groups, writing content, creating videos, we're going to have a whole new wave of people to invite into this crazy world that we've all created.
Is actually something I haven't thought about.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. You can do this all over again.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can figure out the Mac Expo thing.
That would be fun. Us showing up to a Mac conference. Woo! Get your jean jacket.
That would be great. That would be great.
Jacket you could borrow.
Oh yeah.
Question 2. I know the Power Query, just regular Power Query in Excel, will be coming out to the Mac. I think. I forgot the timeline on that.
It's available now in kind of some of the preview builds.
So that live stream here, so they can't hear the questions.
So the question was, when will the Power Query for Mac come out?
And I'll let Donald finish. Was that the full?
Pretty much, yeah.
Awesome. So with the Power Query online experience, which is the new updated UI that's found in Power Apps right now, Power BI Data Flows, Data Marts, that is available today within a public preview kind of build of the Excel. Very similar to monthly, semi-monthly release. I'm jealous that they have a local installation with the updated UI. That is coming to Power BI Desktop in terms of convergence, and that one's out on the roadmap for March 2023.
Yep.
So the fact that we will finally get that updated experience locally, dying. I'm dying.
Please don't make such a mess.
It's just such a lifesaver. And I think from today's conversation with Power Query SDK and writing code, I think it's just one more way to not have to write code. When you have the folding indicators, you have all this rich new experiences the diagram view, things will just become much more easy.
Yep. It's exciting.
That's fantastic. Belinda has a question.
Yeah, I haven't asked one yet. First of all, I love the experience of the relatively new PowerPoint integration.
Yes.
Love that. I loved what you showed today on using it in Teams. The concept of using Power BI where you work is phenomenal. So along those lines, what else can we expect that you could talk about? Or is there anything?
I think you see it, right? With
well, we should first repeat the question, I guess.
Yeah.
So basically, if I can paraphrase the question, is basically asking we've seen Power BI being integrated in Teams. What's next? Where else are we going to take this, right? That's a good question.
You see it today with the Power BI embedded in Outlook.
Mm-hmm. That's
what?
Fun.
Yeah, they have an Outlook app.
Yeah.
That you can. Yeah, that's out. You can get your hands on that.
Really?
So, I am not the PM. I don't control anything.
No, you don't.
But
sorry.
No, you don't.
That was too easy.
Get that t-shirt.
So the part that I really love is Quick Create,
Yes.
which is
awesome.
just drop in a file. I have to believe that they will have you received an email with a CSV or an Excel attachment. Click on a button, open in Power BI desktop, like to me that would be incredible.
Right.
To like have those types of experiences.
Right.
Did you just announce a new feature?
I'm PMing a feature in my mind right now that I would love to see.
I have a part 2. So today Amanda showed the ability to like copy and paste in data table.
Yes.
And I love using a data table, but there is a space limit to that.
Yes.
So this is me doing an ask for ideas.powerbi.com. Wouldn't it be cool if you could do that and it would automatically paste into a data flow and then do that quick create that she showed?
Ooh. You want to repeat the question?
Yeah, so could we simulate the paste instead of into quick create into a data flow,
right?
So that we could recreate this on a regular basis
without the space
limitations.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
we need some more time. I think we need some more time for that. But I mean, first off, we should make like quick create work with like multi-table models. Yeah. Let's do that first. We're on the way there.
That's on the public
right. So let's get to that point, and then we can talk about.
It's out there.
Basically, if I can paraphrase what you're just basically saying like, hey, can we apply Roach's paradigm, right? Like, push it down further, right?
Yep.
That's of course, that makes total sense. So once that's there, yes, that makes total sense. Talking about integration, by the way, the first, like the Teams one, the Outlook one, I mean, yes, Roach's Maxime, exactly. That's one I was referring to. I mean, just the data in space, right? Like that's another interesting investment area if you talk about integrations. And I know Mo has already said something about this on a live stream earlier, a little while ago. But if you think about what is the most used suite of products on the planet, it's Office.
Yeah.
So can we work towards making Power BI part of that somehow? And I think that's where we're slowly converging towards. That's also why the on-object stuff, for example, is just. I mean, we didn't dream that up, right? If you look at how Office operates, it does that.
Yeah.
So, we're slowly getting to that point where we're saying like, hey, can we make Power BI maybe potentially the default app in Office for anybody that has Office installed, even maybe in whatever license, I'm not a licensing expert. But once you have it installed, can we then make Power BI the default app for wrestling the data or showing data? Then, of course, the interesting question becomes like, but what about Excel? And what's the difference between the two? And when do we cut over? And how is that going to play out? But that's, for me, a very interesting area that I can see us going into as well. I'm not saying anything that will happen, but that's definitely an area that I think about. But the biggest question here is like, what about Excel? Like, what is Excel going to do?
You just embed Power BI in Excel. I mean, sort of.
Well, you already have it, and that didn't work out great. So no, let's not do that. No, I think rather I would just think about, can we help people cut over? Like, can we come up with a heuristic that says, hey, at this point, what you're doing in Excel actually makes more sense to do that in Power BI. Can we then clippitize that? And say, looks like you're creating something that looks like a BI report. You want me to cut you over? And then we'll just push that all in a data set for you and open Power BI for you in desktop, and you're already connected to the data set, and we show you some quick create charts already pre-created for you and go like, hey, you can continue from here. It would be awesome.
Yeah.
It's just random thoughts that I have, and that's stupid brain of me, but yeah, that's basically what I think about when you say integrations, that's where I go. Like immediately, that's where I jump. Like, because Power BI has a great audience, an awesome community. We showed numbers of growth, but it's peanuts compared to where Office is.
Right.
So if you want to get a slice of that pie, maybe we should consider doing that.
Well, I think it was the Wall Street Journal. They published an article a few months ago saying that the Power Platform is going to be the most critical skill set for people to have 10 years from now, right? more important than Office
Right.
is knowing how to work with Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate.
Or we could just go into Office, and then you can just still lie on your CV that you know all about Office.
Right.
And then you still also know Power BI.
I guess that's what I was building upon what you're saying, right? It becomes one universal core skill level that is expected of everyone that comes into business to know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, I can build a spreadsheet. I could build some Power BI. I could do an automate.
That would be awesome, right?
Yeah,
that would be great. It's just in a very interesting area that we talk about amongst ourselves and
or
thinking
Viva.
about.
I love the way Viva reads my emails and says, "Hey, you said you were going to reply to Jay? Did you do it?" What if I was typing something and Viva said, "Hey, you were talking about this, thought this visual might be helpful."
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So how can Viva help you do that, right?
Yeah.
Did we used to have some kind of assistant a while back?
Yes.
That had like a speech interface, Cortana, that had an integration with Power BI. That was awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Cortana died.
Yeah.
Or at least in that incarnation of it. But yes, I agree. To the Viva integration, not FIFA. That's soccer. Viva integration. That would be great. I mean, but that's also a growth area for Microsoft. Like, how do we help people be more present in at their work and be more effective? So integrating that, I think it would be interesting thing to think about. Like, hey, here's a potential data visualization that would be interesting for you based on things you've looked at previously or things that are endorsed in your organization.
I think the metrics in Viva, has been an existing OKR system that we kind of acquired.
Yep.
Metrics is still relatively new, so to have 10 years of product experience, to be like, oh, well, what can we learn from them? Like you would kind of said with the Office, of somebody else has already solved this. Let's go and learn.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to solve every problem. Like we have enough smart people.
You know what would be awesome? If you have that conversation on email or whatever, Teams.
Oh, yeah.
And then Viva sends you like, hey, here's a data visualization. Oh, by the way, using the corporate endorsed Power Query function things, I found this thing that enriched the data even more.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the actual insight you were probably looking for. And we would just generate all of that for you.
Solution right here.
So how about for any card that you have in Power BI, a metrics is automatically created and that begins to get tracked.
That'd be cool.
Right. In fact, that's one of the things I now recommend to people. Anytime you create a report, the first thing you do is you publish your cards out, pin those into a metrics, and then start to track that. So then you then have a card that you then flip over to the metric visual that's of that, and then flip back.
It's basically like dashboards as they never were.
Right. Well, yeah. Oh, we have another question from the audience.
So I have a very good question. Maybe that you can add it to your brain again for future announcement.
Sure.
We have RLS on data.
Yes.
How about having RLS automatically filtering the pages also? Like, is there something that you're thinking?
Ooh, the question was, we have RLS on data. When will we see page RS? Is that a good, page RS?
Should I answer?
Yeah, go for it. PRS.
PRS?
PLS?
Page level security.
PLS. Yes.
I get the sneaking suspicion that's a weird acronym for something. Okay.
So I will give an answer that is not reflective of the PM team in any way, shape, or form. Page level security is a very highly voted idea.
Yeah.
It is constantly a topic of conversation every one of these sessions when he's talking about semester planning.
Yep.
It is a massive rock to move. Obviously, we want to do it correctly. I think what you've seen with the multiple app audiences hopefully starts to align some stars at a much further distance.
Well,
that is our first attempts of having kind of that content level security.
I'm going to build upon that because I love the audiences because that takes that first step.
Yeah.
But then it also highlights the need for that because now it's, hey, I gave them access to this report inside this this audience, but now, there's 3 tabs in there that they should not have.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we already have something called OLS.
Yep.
So we can also just slap it under there. No, I'm half joking, but of course, I think for PLS, never gonna get out of my brain anymore.
It's gonna stick.
Didn't we years ago have a demo of that somewhere?
Yeah.
I think we did on like
Yeah.
some session, but that was actually completely fake. That was completely fake. It was no code. It was nothing. It was just a recording like, oh yeah, you can click here, and then video editing, making something happen.
People remember it though.
Yes. Because I have this conversation almost every month with people like, where's that? And it's just simply because when we started really looking into this, we found that was so hard to build, that we had to deprioritize this. Yeah. I would love to have it, and I have my hopes up that we would actually fold that in under object level security at some point. Because think about it, right? A table, a column is an object. Why is a chart not an object? Why is a page not an object? Right? Potentially, it might go under that at some point. I have no idea when or how or who, or I have no evidence for that. But yeah, absolutely recognizing that's something that people want. Yeah, absolutely.
Vote and make noise.
Yes. Don't come knocking on my door. Just knock on his door. Then he will tell me.
Well, and I think that also plays into the following question. There was, what about column level security? Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Has anyone talked about column level security in Power? No. Fair enough. All right.
No.
All right. We've blown through our time. What's that?
What is a column? I'm not trying to turn this into a philosophical debate. What do you mean when you say column level security? Do you mean like column on a table?
Yeah.
Because you can already secure that.
One column?
With object level?
Well, hang on. I don't want the table secured. I just want the column.
Yeah, you can
do that. You can set, like, you can see everything about customer except their name.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, well, then I need to read more.
Well, then Chris is happy. Let's
Hey, and on that note.
No, so I was thinking you were thinking about something else. Like, hey, I've got a table, a visual, let's say a matrix.
Yeah.
And there's multiple columns in that matrix coming from multiple different tables. Now I want Alex to see all 5, and I want Jay only to see the first 3 of that matrix coming from different tables. That's what I was thinking you were talking about.
No. I'm talking about like birth date, right? Like HR gets to see birth dates. All right, fantastic.
So the disclaimer there will be if someone doesn't have access, the visual will not render. It'll show an error.
Yes.
So it is a less than stellar.
It's not great, but it exists.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where I would add caution.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay. All right.
Just agreeing.
Well, this has been incredible. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you to the live studio audience.
Can we please make this a recurring thing?
Yes, let's do this on a regular basis.
That's awesome.
Live at our conferences, we will do this and have this conversation. So,
that's awesome.
Yes, awesome. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in for the first ever live at a conference live stream. This was really fun to set up and do so, and a great conversation. And thank you for joining. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.
Yep. Now, if I only had buttons to end this, where did that go? Oh my gosh, is it not going? Here we go.